This tutorial is going to cover a simple way to handle 8-directional dashing and selecting montages based on movement input values. As an added bonus, I'll also show you how to set up combo inputs to double tap dash, and the animations I'm using are from Mixamo, and I provided the converted files to follow along with the tutorial in the description. So here I have a brand new project in version 5.6, but if you have an earlier version than this, everything that we're going to be doing is still going to be working. So to start off with our dashes, we're going to make a new input action. So if you right click in the content drawer, go to input, input action. We're going to call this IA_dash. We'll open it up and we want to keep it as the digital bool. So then when we press it down, it will output true. Otherwise it's not going to do anything. So on the triggers, we can say pressed. Then we want to add one more array element and have it be released. And we can keep the same attenuation threshold. Essentially, if we just had it pressed, we would trigger the boolean to be true, and it would never set back to false. So we could save that and then close it down. And then we want to open up the default controller, which is IMC default. And under mappings, we want to add it. And then we can bind it to whatever button we want. I'm going to say left shift. Save it. Then we can close it. And then we want to open up our third person character. Now using an 8-way dash, we want to take advantage of our action input values for our move. We don't need to have everything run off of the same input action. We can just duplicate this. I'm going to promote the action values to variables. And then we're going to get our dash action. So IA_dash. And then we will set a branch at the end, and we'll route our triggered move into the branch as well as our dash input and connect the action value. So now when we move, we'll be able to use these action values to direct our dash direction, and we're not going to dash unless we press the shift button. Now, of course, simply dashing is just going to be using the launch character. And we're going to get our actor's forward vector and our actor's right vector. Then we want to get a multiply. And we're just going to duplicate that. Twice over. We're going to convert the bottom pins of each of our multiplies to float values. And our distance is going to be 900 for both of these. Then we're going to do the same with the top values. And we'll connect our action input Y to the top multiply and our action input X to the bottom multiply. And then we add these two together. And I like to override X and Y just because we'll be moving. It kind of stops momentum. And when we launch, I want the dash to be more pronounced if we're in the air. So we're going to get the character movement, and we're going to set the gravity scale. And we'll set it to be 0. And before we get to the animations, I'm just going to get a delay for half a second. Then we're going to set the gravity scale back to its default of 1. So now, since we're testing this out, what we'll want to do is change our character's orientation to movement and its rotation. Dash forward, it works fine, but because our rotation in the air is going to shift whenever we hold down a different key, it's not going to dash correctly. So instead, what we need to do for this type of setup is clicking on the character movement, and we want to orient rotation to movement and uncheck that. And we want to search for control and use controller desired rotation. So now when we move, we're strafing, and we can turn using the mouse. And now when we dash, our character is going to be able to not turn around. And now since this triggers every time we press dash, we're going to make a new variable. We're going to call it dashing. And we're going to drag in our dashing and set it to be true after our branch, and at the end, when we reset the gravity scale, we're going to set it to be false. And on our branch here, we're going to get an AND bool. And get a NOT bool. So if we're not dashing and we press the dash button, then we can dash. Otherwise, we're going to be able to spam dashing, but now we only do it once. So now it looks normal. So now we're going to add our montage. So we can play montage and drag in our mesh. And we're going to delete our delay and connect the montage in its place. I have 8 animations taken from Mixamo. We're going to convert to animation montages. They're already labeled what they are, so backwards L is backwards to the left, backward is just straight backward. The trick is going to be how we want to set what animation to play, because we can check against our action input values with a bunch of branches, but that's going to make everything look terrible. So instead, we're going to use this as a more programmatic approach. We're going to copy our X and Y values. And we want to use these values to select what montage we're going to be playing. A trick that we can do is if we wanted to take the action inputs and convert them to a string and append them, we can create a table based on our action values and then map that to the montage that we want to play. So we'll make a new variable and we'll call it montages. The type is going to be string. And we're going to change the variable type to map. And the second type is going to be anim montage object reference. So we compile it, and now we can start adding the map here. But first we're going to convert this to a string. So we're going to take our action input values and we're going to say to int and scroll all the way up to the top. We can just say to integer 64. So now our action values will just be -1, 1, or 0 rather than having the decimal. And then we'll get to string. And then we want to append. Drag in our montages and get the keys. And then we want to find in the array of our strings the index value that's associated with whatever action values we are currently inputting on our movement. Then off of our montages, we will get key value by index. And then we connect the blue pin for our anim montage reference directly into the montage to play. And we're going to unpin this, and we'll connect the completed and the interrupted pin to our gravity scale. So now we click on montages, and we can start building our map of montages. We have our X value being the first number, and then our action value Y being the second. So if we have 1, 0, that would just be going to the right. We append it again. -1, 0 would be going to the left. (0, 1) would be going forward. 0, -1 going back. And for the diagonals, 1, 1 would be going forward and to the right. -1, 1 be forward to the left. 1, -1 would be going backwards to the right. And then finally, -1, -1 would be going backwards to the left. So compile that and save it. Okay, and just to test this out, we're just going to bypass the gravity scale for now, so then we could just do this on the ground. So on the ground, go forward, back, right, left, forward right, back left, forward left, back right. So it plays all animations according to our input actions. But now if we wanted to do this in the air, we'll reconnect our gravity scale. And we're going to take our character movement, place it at the end. We'll get stop movement immediately, so then we aren't drifting too far when we dash. And for our launch, we're also going to do a Z override. So now if we dash quick enough, we can still stay in the air. If you wanted to come down a bit faster, we can increase the gravity scale to 2.5. And then when we land, we could set the gravity scale back to 1. We get event on landed. And just so then we fall a bit, because you can just keep running through over and over again and not actually drop down, we'll get a small delay before we do our dashing. So now when we dash forward, we can't immediately dash again. That part at least is up to you, but this is a very simple way of getting an 8-way dash or dodge animation without doing a whole ton of extra work. For our second dash type, we're going to be using a combo input, so then when you double tap to the left or right, our character is going to dash in that direction. So we're just going to disconnect the branch here because we don't need to worry about doing this. And instead, we're just going to copy everything here, place it a little bit below. We're still going to be using the right vector, so we can set that to be our launch velocity. And we need to make a new input or two. So we already have dash, but we're going to make a new input for it. We call it IA underscore combo dash. And we're going to set the axis to a 1D float. And on trigger, we select pressed. And then we'll save that, and then we can close it. And then we're going to have to make another input to handle our combo. So input action, IA, combo, start. We're going to add a trigger and set it to be our combo. Then in the dropdown, we select our elements. We're going to add two elements, both of which are going to be our combo dash. And we're going to change the completion states from triggered to completed for both. And then we can open up our IMC default, and we're going to add both mappings. Our combo dash is going to basically be the same settings that we have for A and D for our move. So combo dash, our first key map will be D. Then we're going to add another as A. Then under modifiers for A, we'll add a new one and call it negate. Then we add another mapping for our combo start. And you'll see that we already have all the settings we need in the input key. So back in our third person character, we'll call IA combo start. We'll call when completed. We launch our character. Now, if you didn't already have the action input set up, another way of doing this is to get the combo dash that we set up and save the action value to our combo dash. That way we just get a quick input. This is if you don't use the default input move, or maybe you're using something else other than what comes default with the project, but this is another way of doing just that. So now if we double tap right, or double tap left, or tap and release left and then press right, or vice versa, we can use this combo to be able to have our character dash in a direction. And because we already had the play montage map set up, all we had to do is just swap inputs. And finally, this comes from a comment on YouTube from a user who wants to have a dash styled after the dash in Destiny, which is actually pretty simple. So all we would need to do is, I want to say thank you to the pillars of Patreon, Winterberry Shark, Thatcher Moss, Francesca Poda, and K Panic, and everyone else for your amazing support. I upload an annotated copy of these project files to the Patreon, so if you're looking for a deeper explanation on why I did the project in the way that I did, or if you just want to show support for the tutorials I do, you can find a link to that in the description. And you can also join the Discord and ask me whatever questions you'd like. And finally, let me know if you liked the video by liking the video, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. With all that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you've been inspired.